It's full steam ahead on multiple fronts in the case against the twice impeached, 4 times indicted on 91 counts former president, out on bail or bond in 4 different jurisdictions. Last night, federal prosecutors raised more concerns about Trump's dangerous rhetoric and the urgent need for a gag order in Jack Smith's January 6th case. In a 22-page court filing, prosecutors cited a disturbing social media post where he called former Joint Chiefs of Staff Chairman Mark Milley a traitor and suggested that he should be executed. Meanwhile, Trump plans to attend the first 2 days of his New York civil fraud trial in person. And that trial kicks off on Monday and comes after a judge found Trump, his 2 sons, and his business associates liable for fraudulently inflating the value of Trump's properties by up to $2.2 billion. And in another major development, the first of Trump's 18 co-defendants in Georgia's election interference case has flipped. Yesterday, Scott Hall, accused of being involved with a voting system breach in Coffee County, pleaded guilty to 5 misdemeanor charges and promised to testify against others. Joining me now, Melissa Murray, MSNBC legal analyst, professor at NYU's School of Law, co-host of the podcast Strict Scrutiny, and co-author of The Trump Indictments, the historic charging documents with commentary. Melissa, always great to see you. Thank you for coming back to the Saturday show. So, under the terms of Hall's plea deal, he agreed to testify truthfully in all further proceedings in the Georgia case. How bad is that for Trump?
Oh, I think it's pretty bad, Jonathan. It's also worth noting here that Hall actually gave a statement to prosecutors before the plea deal. So he actually probably gave them enough that they were pleased and then actually offered the plea deal. So this is really significant. He can be connected to a lot of different co-defendants here, namely Sidney Powell, possibly even Jeffrey Clark and that fake elector scheme. So they're getting closer and closer to the top of this alleged criminal conspiracy. And that was the whole point of having such a sprawling indictment charging 19 co-defendants, that these lower level individuals might decide they weren't ready to wear an orange jumpsuit for some of these higher ups.
So Scott Hall is the first one to flip. Is the expectation that others will flip?
Well, they've already suggested that they plan to issue plea deals to some of the others, and indeed some of the higher ups, like perhaps even Kenneth Chesebro, maybe Sidney Powell. Those would actually be quite significant. And again, the fact that Hall has flipped is really important here because Hall can be connected to Sidney Powell and that alleged scheme to infiltrate the voting machines in Coffee County. So there's a lot that he could tell them about her intent. She has said that she was acting with the authorization of local officials, but he could probably shed some light on that. And if he does, she might be in a position to perhaps play ball with prosecutors.
You've mentioned Sidney Powell. So how will this deal impact Sidney Powell and Kenneth Chesebro? And I bring this up because their trial starts on October 23rd.
So we're getting ready for jury selection in both of those cases, but everything is really dynamic. So if you have a plea deal, that could scrap a trial, and sometimes that happens even on the eve of a trial beginning or on the eve of jury selection. So I think it is really significant that you have this individual who is so close to both Sidney Powell and Jeffrey Clark. If you read the indictment, he has a lot of interaction with both of them. I think that suggests that there may actually be some more interventions, more actions on who cooperates, and maybe we might not have this trial at all. Again, totally speculative on my part, but anything could happen.
Right, anything can happen. Let's turn to the January 6th case. Judge Tanya Chutkan has scheduled a hearing on October 16th to hear arguments on whether to grant a limited gag order on Trump in that case. Do you expect her to grant that gag order?
I think it is likely. I think we've already seen that the rhetoric coming from the Trump camp has been really inflammatory. She's a very meticulous judge, so she recognizes that there are a lot of equities to be balanced here, the interest in the safety of all of these individuals, as well as the interest in free speech. They both have to be balanced here. But again, given the highly high-profile nature of all of this, I think she will grant the government some of its requests. But I think she has to make a choice here between those free speech values. But she's very much said that she's not the one to play with here. She has already gotten rid of that recusal motion. She's going full speed ahead. And I think she will deal with this particular gag order request in a very perfunctory fashion and get the order out and make a decision.
We're out of time, but I got to ask you this. The Attorney General in New York, Letitia James, revealed who she plans on calling to the witness stand, including Trump, 3 of his kids, Alan Weisselberg, and Michael Cohen. Who do you think is most important to hear from?
Well, I think obviously Donald Trump is a big one here because anything he says under oath here could be admissible in some of these other cases. And again, this question about the overinflation of the value of his properties might go to a larger pattern of making false claims, which is relevant to some of these other litigations. But I think just about everyone here is important. Michael Cohen, although he's an impeachable witness, he might have a lot to say here, and it'd be really important to hear from the Trump kids as well.
And just because the Attorney General says she plans on calling them to the witness stand doesn't mean that she actually is going to do it. Right.
Yep. We might not see them at all.
Okay. Melissa Murray, as always, thank you very much for coming to the Saturday show.